Hare Krishna. Today we are looking at the chapter 2, 25th verse. Here Krishna says something about why Arjuna should not grieve. And he just asks him to stop grieving. So he says there's one thing in the previous verse. He talked about Sarvagata Stanuhu. Sarvagataha sta anuhu. And then we uh, went through that verse and we decided that God, who is present everywhere, is also present inside this Anu Jiva. Sarvagataha Stanuhu. Sanatanaha, we said Sadatanaha, means who is always there, is already told in Nityaha Shabda. So Sanatanaha means who has or who is revealed by the Vedas, which implies God. The same word, same sound word Sanatana, when applied to the Jiva, means who is having a super soul or the master inside him itself, who controls him all the time. So Sanatanaha gave two meanings. Out of that, the Paramatma, who is Sarvagataha, means who is everywhere, who is having no boundaries about time, space, or gunas, he resides inside the Jiva. So now the verse here in question is what we have to talk about is that that person, the super being, supreme being, who is everywhere, who's present everywhere, yet he remains not known by anyone because he is not visible. He says avyakta. Avyakta is one word. Achintya, amel, avikarya. Three adjectives are given for that I am. I am here is that entity who was just discussed in the previous verse. Sarvagataha sta. Sarvagataha, who is completely pervading space and time. See, that itself is difficult to digest for us. Pervading space, something I think we can cognize. Pervading time, it's really difficult to understand. And he does not manifest himself at any time. Avyaktaha means he does not have you cannot show one um, some object like how we show this is a stone, this is a tree, this is a person. So we cannot show one thing and show that and say that this is God. This is that supreme being because he is unmanifested. At the same time, will he not ever get manifested? Because we say that Krishna itself later on says that he is that supreme being. So in that case, the Vedas and Upanishads tell that God has no limitation. He is actually unmanifest, but if he wants, he can manifest himself into any form that he wants. His devotee who is yearning to see him. If he is yearning to see him in the Rama form, he shows him that. In the Narasimha form, then he shows him that. So whatever he can do is not limited. Sarvagataha means also we discussed that he is all knower. He knows what he has to do and how he has to do it. And he can get it done because Sarvagataha is also meaning that he is pervading in the gunas also. Gunas means the different types of strengths that are required to accomplish any task. Yet, because he is not seen to us or not, we cannot see him, he remains achintya. Achintya means we cannot think about it. See, if I show you an object and then I tell you, think about this object, you can start thinking about its form. You can start thinking about what it is composed of, what is its use, whether it's very brittle or whether it's hard or something, you'll start discussing to yourself in your own mind. Whether you like it or not, all these things will come and pop into our mind when we look at any object. So if there is a thing that we can see, then we can think about it. This supreme being, he is not even manifest. You can't even see him and you cannot even think about him, he says. Achintya, he remains achintya means, that means then what are we talking about here? We are talking about that supreme being and we're telling things about it. that the Supreme Being is like this, it's Sarvagata, that Supreme Being resides in the Jiva and gives it the ability to be there and exist and all that. So then are these not about that? When we are thinking about it, why are we saying it's Achintya? Then for that the Upanishads and all say Achintya is because you can never fully contemplate on that and say that okay, I've finished it. I finished all the points that I can write about this thing is over. That no one can ever say this. That's why it's called as Achintya. How many other things you think about it, it is not finished. So in Harikatamsara, Jagannath Dasaru tells one thing about it, about the Supreme Being, that there is another Supreme, another entity who is always with the Supreme Being, and she is Rama Devi. And she always is knowing about his greatness. I mean, she is looking and understanding that he is there, and she is able to describe him and think about his glory, but she has not at all found it out fully. So his infinite nature itself does not allow anyone to know about him fully. Because if you know something and finish it, then it's not infinite. So this an infinity or infinite nature of his attributes and forms are what is told here by saying achintya and avikarya. And he is never, that attributes that he is having of all these what we just said, they are all not going to be in any way, they are not going to be mutated. They are all immutable. They will never change in any way possible. It's not possible to change it. Time, no, it changes many things. It changes the body, it changes the world, it changes the all these created things. But the time does not change. This Jiva is already told to us in the previous verses. That same time, because it does not change the Jiva, because Jiva is permanent, they said. And that permanence of the Jiva is finally because of the permanence of that Supreme Being who is inside him. This is also what we have seen before. So the main, the whole of this philosophy rests on that concept that the infinite nature of God makes him able, or makes that Supreme Being able to do anything. Yet in that infinite nature, one of his natures or attributes is compassion. One of his attributes is to be impartial. So he resides in the Jiva and makes decisions based on the Jiva's own nature and not because of anything that he wants the Jiva to experience. He only allows the what has to be done is done, but not based on any partial thought about what he wants. He does not have that kind of thing that we have. We have a thing like, we get attached to certain things and we like that. So we will always side with that kind of positions where that is more like someone likes what you like, then you like that person. Someone does not like what you like, then you just keep him at a distance. That's natural to us. That is itself, we don't think of it as wrong also in some cases. But when persons in authority start doing that, like a teacher, if she starts siding someone whom she knows may be wrong, but because she likes it, then she says, okay, this is okay. That will be wrong. But that kind of impartial nature is with God. I mean, that kind of partial nature is not there with God. He's completely impartial. Being inside everyone, he is impartial. So also is Achintya, they say, because what is seen and experienced in the world, you cannot think about it about in that way about God, because he's not that. That's why what we experience only we are able to think. So we think that might be like that. He's the controller, he is the infinite, anyone cannot question him, he can do anything, no. So that in one of his infinite attributes, this also is there, that he is impartial. So, and we cannot conceive of that kind of nature. It's very difficult for us to do it. And the same thing goes for every attribute. So also is Achintya. How can this supreme entity, which is Sarvagataha, means which is in every space that is there, yet he is inside the Jiva. Jiva means it's very Anu, he says. Anu means atomic size. So the Upanishads now talk about this atomic nature of the Jiva. Atomic size means what? How to understand it? So they say that if you take a horse's tail, and the horse's tail is supposed to have very fine hairs compared to any other animal's tail. So the horse's tail has very fine hairs. If you take the end of that one hair of the tail and then you split it into 100 pieces and then further into 100 pieces, that means 10,000 pieces, if at all you can do it. The jiva is much smaller than that, it says. So the physical atomic size of the jiva, inside that also God resides, and He is there everywhere in Tandra. How will we be able to think about it? That's why it's Achintya. He is Avyakta, Achintya, and Avikarya. This is not going to change at any time, and this cannot be sullied at any time. It is always immutable. So knowing that this supreme nature of this infinite being who resides in you, and you itself being a reflection of that, is also of the same nature, that is the jiva, is also of the same nature. It is also avyakta, it is also an achintya, because we don't know about our own selves. Do we know who we are? We don't even know who we are. Today we act like this, tomorrow we get another thought, we do something else, and we really don't know what our actual nature is. And he says jiva is also does not ever get mutated. It is of the same way as it is all the time. So keeping these things in view, he is telling tasmat evam. That is why, therefore, having known that the supreme being and the soul are of this kind of nature, you should stop grieving, he said. Nanu shochitum arhasi. You should not be grieving like this, because in the first chapter, Arjuna had just looked at his grandsires like Bhishma and Drona, and he was overcome with so much of sadness that his arrows will be the cause for their grief, or I mean pain, and then they might even die because of it. So he was totally engulfed with grief, and he even sat down on the floor and he left his arrow and the bow, and he started having tears in his eyes. You know, a person who is very strong and is in the army, he is ready to fight there actually. But why did he start crying? His emotionally was broken. So that is the thing that he says, stop doing that now. Why are you crying now? He says. So you should, he's gently actually telling, it's not so fiercely. He's saying, Nanu shochatam arhasi. Tasmat vidite. Learn, know about this nature of the jiva and the Paramatma, and then you will not be feeling that you want to cry also. Because what is happening will happen. So what's the point of crying? The jiva is attached to the body and the body will one day die, is what the next verse says. The next verse talks about the finality of the type of body that all beings on this temporary world have. So that is the nature which will not be changed also. So what is the point of crying? That's the again thing. So main thing is that acquiring the knowledge about this, um, that what is told about the jiva and its relationship with the supreme and their immutability will help one to overcome this kind of grief, he says. So you also do that. So that's it for this verse. We can, I mean, we need a lot of contemplation to really, I mean, be okay with it actually. So let's try to keep on doing.